I'm not going to be giving a message this morning. I'm just going to give you a quick update on what happened in Israel over the last few weeks. And now that Charlotte and I are back from that archaeological activity. And then I'm going to introduce Samson to come up and present the ministry that goes on in a place called Chakratarpur in the north of India, the state of Jharkhand. And so that's the sequence of events. Charlotte and I had the honor and the privilege of going over to Israel beginning of May. We did a tour of the country, and then we participated in the first week of the archaeological dig in the city of Shiloh. And it's quite amazing to see what is being uncovered in the city of Shiloh. I'm sure that, Rob, you've given a kind of a description of it. But this year was really interesting to be able to go to Shiloh and actually stand in the gate of the city where Eli fell off his bench and died. And then I was taken up around the other side of the tell. That's the tell is the kind of the hill that it sits on. And there's a series of rooms that are there that they thought were storage rooms, but are reconsidering that and thinking that it was actually the house of Eli, and he was probably living in one of the rooms, and that was where Samuel heard the voice of the Lord. That night when he heard the voice of the Lord, he went to Eli and said, why did you call me? And eventually Eli recognized that it was God speaking to Samuel, but I was actually able to stand and look at the very location where that was. And then just up a little bit from the gate of the city, there's a foundation that has been traced out, and they're in the throes of establishing what the original foundation was, and it's the exact measurements of the tabernacle facing east-west. So I have pictures of Charlotte and I standing in the holiest of holies, and obviously we came out alive, which was a good thing. So here we are. A lot of visibility over there. The Israeli government, the IAA, which is the Israeli Antiquities Authority, are very appreciative of what ABR is doing. We have a good reputation with them. In fact, they come to us and ask for their assistance. This year, they asked for assistance to help the military excavate an area up in Mount Bezek, which is in the north of Israel. And so we were able to, by their invitation, go and help them out, which was rather remarkable that they would ask a bunch of Americans and one Canadian to actually go to the site. I didn't go, but to actually go to that site, because it's going to be the future installation of a military facility. So anyway, we spent the last dig was last Friday. This coming week, they're actually covering it up and conserving the area so that next season we can continue to excavate without any deterioration. But it really was remarkable to see the artifacts, pottery coming out of the ground that's broken, but you could see we were able to take that, and we'll probably be reconstructing it into its original form. And some of this pottery, we were able to find seeds, very sophisticated system that identifies artifacts. It goes through a dry sifter, and then it goes through wet sifting, and then the soil is brought over to a seed sifter, which actually takes the soil to the top, and it washes it away and identifies the seeds. And that is used for historical purposes in identifying how much Israel was inhabited during that period of time. Anyway, the Lord took care of us in spite of all the turbulence that took place. We prayed about it, made the decision to go, and it was the right decision. We had 112 people respond as volunteers to go there this year, and most of them have gone home, and so the conservation is taking place. Last Friday, we had two of the large TV media show up and record what we're doing. And also on Friday, Ambassador Mike Huckabee came with his wife and visited us with the governor, Israel Gans, who is the governor of the area, came over and saw the site. So we have good visibility. And the whole purpose is that we're pulling these artifacts out of the ground so that folks can recognize that when they read the Bible, these are things that actually happened. We make a statement at ABR, and that is, we do not need archaeology to prove the Bible, but it sure makes it come to life. And I use an example of, we all learned about George Washington and what he did back in 1776 and so on, and we believe it. I never met him, although my grandkids think I did, but the point is that George Washington was a real person. But when you go to Mount Vernon and take a look at his house, it comes to life. And that's what we do in archaeological digging in Israel. So do pray for that work. And now on to Samson. I'd like to just read one quick verse. Ephesians 4:11, and he gave some apostles, some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers. I got to know Samson many years ago, have visited in his home with he and Ronnie up in a place called Chekadarpur, and visited many areas around in the tribal areas. And one thing that I do know is that Samson is an evangelist in the true sense of the word. He takes the gospel to those around, but he does have some other, he does pastor these folks. He takes care of them. He shepherds them. He spends time with them in the word of God. And so Samson and the ministry up there, and we'll learn more about the ministry, but it's vast. 11 assemblies now. Is that correct, Samson?
Yeah, 11 assemblies.
11? Okay, so 7, and well, there's going to be 11 assemblies in that area. They went there first in the year 1999 or 2000, and this ministry is growing amongst the whole tribe immensely. So got to know Samson and his wife, and Samson, you're my son in the Lord. And we speak often. I know he speaks with Jacob Matten often, but we have a special relationship. And so I'm going to introduce to you Samson. Come on up.